How's it going, guys? I'm Dustin with Hard Cruise Racing, and today I want to talk about a Ford Bronco Sport Badlands edition that we use for emergency response and traveling, and talk about some of the things that we've done different on it that you might want to do, and well, how we've had it everywhere. This is one of the first released Ford Bronco Sports. We are from Ohio, but we traveled out to see my wife's family in California, up in San Francisco, and that was when the Bronco Sport was being released. Back when you still didn't find them on a showroom, you didn't find them on a lot, you really couldn't find them. Now, at that time, some of the high-end lots got some of these in their showrooms, and some of the other dealerships got some of the base models, but nobody really had a cyber orange Badlands edition, which is what this is. It's that limited edition color and that high-end package. All right, so we decided that it was worth it for us to drive 3 hours each way to go out to a high-end dealership along the coast and pick this up, and that's exactly what we did. So we jumped in first we emailed some people, and they tried to say they were gonna send it to a sister dealership near us, and they said they would not tell us where it was at because we wanted to pick it up that day. And they wouldn't tell us where it was at. They just said they would have it back in there within the week or something along those lines, or within the next day or something. And I said, I want to go see the vehicle right now. I want to test drive it right now. And they wanted me to sign paperwork before they would even let me test drive it. And I said, there's no way in hell it's going to happen. It's California. We're already paying above MSRP, and there was 0% chance that I was just going to sign a paperwork at all. I wanted to drive it. So I called around and ultimately found out where it was at. And it was 3 hours away. And we told them straightforward, this is what we have a check for, which was just above MSRP for the vehicle. If they were willing to sell it at that price, we'd be there that night to pick it up, right about the time they closed, if they were willing to do the deal. And they agreed. So we jumped in the vehicle and instantly drove over there. It was a long drive. It was an okay drive. It was a long drive, okay? But we said we wanted to test drive the vehicle, and if we loved it like we thought we'd love it, we would walk off the lot with it that day. Check in their hand, no questions asked. And they were very, very good about working with us. If you buy a new vehicle, find somebody that's willing to do that with you, because it makes all the difference in the world. And we ran into some issues with this vehicle. Not mechanical issues, just issues. Within the first week of us owning it, we were parked in a parking lot of, I believe, Target, and a tree out of nowhere. There was no wind, there was no vehicles, no nothing. A tree fell on our vehicle. Now, luckily, there were signs of rot and neglect by the company's part that ultimately led them to be responsible for the tree. Otherwise, we would have been responsible for damages of a tree falling on our vehicle. The next thing that happened is we took a road trip from California back to Ohio. We were the first people to ever cross-country road trip a Ford Bronco Sport. As a matter of fact, you see that roof rack up on top? That's a 7-foot roof rack. We own one of the longest roof racks that would fit on this vehicle, so where when you open the rear door, that it wouldn't hit, and when you don't see it or it makes a bunch of noise out the windshield. Fun fact, does this look familiar to you? Yep, that's right. They used a picture of our Bronco Sport for the Ford emoji. They never officially said that, but let's just be honest, at the time, we owned one of just a handful of cyber orange Bronco Sports that were out there, and we were the only ones to ever have a roof rack that long. Ford did not produce, sell, or provide a roof rack that long. That is something we did. So the fact that that matches that emoji just perfectly, and we had blue bins and things like that up there which matched that just perfectly for their emoji, kind of just stated that they used a picture of ours. There's even a couple pictures that we were posting when we were doing our cross-country road trip because people were excited about it. So yeah, just admit it, Ford. I'd love to hear it. So on our trip, we're in the middle of nowhere, Colorado, and somebody backed down the side. Backed into it. Tore the whole front door, everything off the side of this thing. Now, let me remind you, this is a time when you do not see Bronco Sports on the road. You do not see other Bronco Sports on the road. When people would see this, they would get so excited, they would wave, they would say, oh my God, it's so amazing, I can't believe it finally is coming out. But you didn't just see them on the road. And that meant that Ford didn't have parts. They didn't have replacement parts. There was weeks and weeks of waiting. You know, they were good about it. The Ford dealership near us was great. So they had the parts at least on the way by the time we got back, okay? But it turned out, yeah, I mean, it was still usable. I wasn't happy that the passenger door was crushed, and it was a vehicle that wasn't even 2 weeks old, but it was at least drivable. Now, we do emergency response and search and rescue back in Ohio. Okay, we are on the community emergency response team, and we do a lot with that. So I wanted to create a graphics setup that was both professional but had some minor details that normal people wouldn't notice. Of course, we have the emergency response up front, and we also have SAR K9 in the rear, search and rescue K9. If I go to the rear, or if I roll these rear windows down past the rain guards, you would see, trained K9 unit, do not approach, vehicles video monitored, climate control, just so people wouldn't freak out when they see our dog in here, because there is usually a K9 in here if we go anywhere. But one of the things that I'm proud of is this right here. See this? This is one of a kind I made. And there, like I said, there's details in here. There were other details that were supposed to be in here that just didn't come out right, so I removed them. And I made the size a little too big because of my, mistake. But, there's like right here, it's me and my wife and our search and rescue K9, which is a Norwegian elk hound, a very rare dog. There's supposed to be a little cabin up here, but it didn't come out right, and that's okay. I removed that. But, we have the woods on this end, which goes into the rivers, which goes into the mountains. And then, obviously down here, we have our Soldier's Cross. I am a U.S. Marine veteran, so, that means a lot to me. So it's just a little detail we added in there. And what was supposed to be there, but I made the design just a little too big, is there used to be a Golden Gate Bridge off of this side because my wife is from San Francisco. But I messed up and cut the design just a little too big. It's just a mistake on my happens. So yeah, it looks nice, right? So going back to up on top, more than just our roof rack, we have a series of bins that go up here. They all have their individual straps. I don't know if I ever posted a video about how to cut and make the straps that just loop, but they don't have hooks. They just loop around the rack and back to themselves. It's a great way to do it. But like I said, we have a whole set of bins that go up here, along with a bunch of other gear that's very important for us to carry. And then on each side, again, we went with the extra long crossbars, so that way we could run our kayaks up there. Again, this isn't something that's usually recommended. They usually say, get crossbars that are just about the same width as here. But I wanted to run kayaks, so we went as wide as physically possible. Now, if anyone is curious, I'm talking about angler kayaks here. I sit on tops. They're real nice. You can put a bunch of gear back here, along with having gear in your lap. You can, the dog rides up in the front of mine. So these are great kayaks to have. If anyone's looking for a great adventure kayak, sit on kayaks, not sit in kayaks. These go in shallower water. They're easier to maneuver, in my opinion. Yes, you're a little more top heavy. But I just find it to be a much more versatile kayak. I can go fishing in this, I can do search and rescue in this, and so on and so forth. It just makes this a worthwhile purchase, Now again, we have been all over the country in our Bronco sport. From California, up through Oregon, across through Colorado, and back over to Ohio. Then we went over to the Vermont, Massachusetts area for a trip. Then we came back, and then we went on another trip through Washington, D.C., down the Appalachian Trail, down into Tennessee. We've actually been down into Tennessee a few times with this vehicle. We have been in every single terrain imaginable. We have been, through the snow and the ice. We have been through the mud. We have been through riverbeds. We have been, up mountains. We have been literally anywhere you could possibly take this, through the sand, through the rocks. We have been with our Bronco sport, and we take kind of a great pride in that. I will say that we have replaced the tires. Ours got a little worn out just from our heavy use, so these are newer tires on here. I do not plan to stay with these 17s. Okay, they are a little too skinny for a 17, in my opinion, and here's the issue that they come with. And I made videos on this before, and apparently a lot of people don't get it. The wider or the larger a wheel is, the smaller sidewall you have on the tire. And I'm talking about the sidewall potential here, okay, on the rubber itself. Now, I could go with a slightly larger sidewall on here, but coming out this way, I have what, 2 inches maybe, a little less in the front. So if I go with a larger sidewall, when it's bouncing up and down and we're turning in and out and all sorts of other things, I start to run into the risk of contact. So what in most cases, especially with us in racing and anybody that does off-roading, they opt for a smaller wheel size to give you more sidewall without changing a bunch of other steering geometry and things like that. Okay, because in theory, but in reality, a larger wheel size means that each rotation will actually cause the outer edge to go faster. So things happen when you change wheel size, like your speedometer is no longer accurate, or things like that. So what I really wanted to do was decrease the wheel size to like a 15, so that way I could run a much larger sidewall. But if you look inside of there, large brake rotor and that mounting point for that caliper means that I can't run much smaller of a tire without contacting the inside. So I'm kind of stuck with these 17s unless I do some extreme things. But these 17s wouldn't be an issue if they were wider. But they are such a skinny tire, as in if I go from the back, ignore those bins under there. But if I go from the back, they're such a skinny 17, you can't buy a good off-road or a heavier duty all-terrain tire for that. And everyone always wants to argue, they make all-terrains for this. They make highway tires. That's about as extreme as you can get it, is what you see on there. And for somebody like me who is often out in the snow, the mud, the muck, and everything in between, I would like a more grippy tire. And it's just not offered in that tire size. They just simply went too skinny for a real truck tire. So all you get is car tires or soccer mom SUV tires. And it's supposed to be a Badlands. And that's really what we come down to the issue. It's supposed to be a Badlands. It's supposed to be their off-road package. Comes with their GOAT modes and all of their fun settings and front trail cams and all of the stuff, but you give me a street tire. Some people get it, most people don't, and that's okay. Just trust me when I say it's an issue. Some issues that I'm going to say with having this so far that I've noticed is dealerships don't ever have parts in for you. For example, I've taken it and complained about not having wiper blades multiple times. This started happening in the last couple days. It's winter time, and it's going to be raining or snowing, and I have asked and requested for wiper blades a handful of times now, and neither have been changed. Your wiper blades really should be changed every year, but they can play this game of saying, well, they're not worn yet. But here's the reality. Ford has all of these on back order. All of these wiper blades, your filters, all of that. They have them all on back order, which means they don't know when they're going to be able to get them in. This runs an issue because you can't replace them. Even though they know you have a scheduled appointment, nobody's been able to get new wiper blades in. So I guess I'm going to have to go with some generic Walmart brands, which really pisses me off because, well, I have a maintenance warranty. And all of that should be covered and included. But here I am, not having wiper blades. Here I am, my wiper blade's starting to fall apart, and I run risk of actually damaging my window or some other stuff every time this starts to move, and it drops out the bottom. But they're not helpful, okay? One other issue I had was, I had a bunch of rear outer tire wear, and nobody seems to know where that came from or why it happened. And it cost me $1,000 in tires, and nobody could pinpoint anything. Even though it was under warranty, they said it's just tire wear. And I said, yeah, not at this mileage, it's not. Everything done to the vehicle, we use it heavily, we use it often, and I've loved every second of it. It is a turboed inline 4, being the Badlands edition, and it is everything performance that I would want it to be. So if you're thinking about picking up something like a Ford Bronco Sport Badlands for overlanding, off-roading, or camping, or long road trips, or emergency response, or any other work vehicle, I do highly recommend it. This is definitely a vehicle that I highly recommend. Okay, it is comfortable, it is performance based, it doesn't lack anywhere that I could complain about other vehicles lacking. It has 110 plugs in the back and the front, well, back and the back seat right behind the thing, so you can run computers and chargers for your devices or whatever when the vehicle is running. So we hook computers in, and when we're driving, it's charging. It has lights in the rear when you open up the back. There's enough room in the back where I've put a mattress to sleep when we were doing overlanding. There's enough room in the back right now that my dog's in there, our canine is in there all the time with his little bed and all of his treats and so on, and he lays back there comfortably. And well, he hasn't complained yet. He's a picky dog, all right? If I throw him in something like my slammed Chrysler right here, if I throw him in the back seat of this thing, he becomes absolute biggest attitude dog you've ever seen in your life. If I throw him in the back of my Dodge Dually over there, again, attitude. From the time we get in to the time we get back, it's an attitude. He doesn't enjoy the ride, but he loves the Bronco Sport. So get out there, go adventuring, have fun. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Be sure to subscribe. I will happily answer every and all questions that you could possibly have. Most importantly, get out there, have fun, have a good day, and have a good day.